Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. And once again, welcome back in the series of Unknown to Known, not only with me. This time I get two big personalities of the IT industry in the ServiceNow world, Alok Gupta and Rohan Raj. Hi Alok, hi Rohan, how are you doing?
Hey, Atul. Yeah, I'm doing good. Thank you. How about you?
All good, mate. Thank you so much. Rohan, what about you?
Doing great. So excited to be here.
That's fantastic. Okay, so as per our tradition, what we'll do first, we'll go for a prayer for a 10-20 seconds. Just pray to God because today we are going to be share our experience, our learnings with the community. And let's pray to God that what we want to be give to the community should be go in the same manner. And then we'll start the session officially. So let's take 10 seconds pause and then we'll start it. Okay, so we'll start from Rohan from that side. So, Rohan, just introduce yourself. I know that I already invited you on my podcast earlier as well. You and Alok were the previous guest for me as well. Where are you? What are you doing at point of time? And how you're feeling today?
Okay. So I have been in ServiceNow industry for more than 6 years now. Currently, I'm based out in Manila, Philippines. It's a great place. And currently, I'm advising multiple telco customers as well as some customers in the BFSI industry. And to be honest, it's so refreshing to be in this part of the world and then work here as well. So I have been BPC for 3 years almost now, and it's a really exciting place to be. Yeah.
Wow. So you say that you are a BPC for 3 years now. I'll pick up that term because this is what I'm here now. Before that, Alok, how are you? Where are you based out and what you're doing at point of time?
Hey, Atul. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. I am based out of Pune, India, and I have been in IT industry for almost 18 years now.
Oh
But
my
don't
God.
get confused that 18 years I have been in service now. So service now I have been in 8 years. Before that, I was in ITL consulting, application support, service delivery. So similar facets. The good part is that I have seen the customer side of things as well because, as I said, I was service delivery manager. So I perform the roles of incident manager, problem manager, change manager, asset manager. So I have seen that part of the world quite a lot. So it becomes
Nice.
quite easy for me to do that, understand the customer's point of view. And in BBC role, I have been there for almost 8 years now in service now. Right. So yeah, pretty much a good journey in service now for a long time. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to the session as well. Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay. So now about me. Definitely, I will introduce myself. So I am Dr. Atul Grover, BPC, like my friend says, Alok and Rohan, based out in UK at point of time. And today we are going to be discuss a very interesting topic, pathway to BPC. Why I bring this topic here, and the thing is that why I invited Rohan and Alok because I know these two guys for a long time. And for me, if someone asks, "Hey Atul, can you recommend someone in the BABPC domain to whom I reach out?" My first thought goes Alok or Rohan. What I face that a lot of people are want to be move from development to BA or BPC domain or want to be start their career in a BA or BPC domain as well. And today's session is more about the same only. If you have any doubt, any question, any clarification, I request to be open, put your question in the chat window so that we can discuss it in detail as well. After that, after the session, you can connect with Alok and Rohan. Definitely, if you're new in the channel as well, with me on the LinkedIn, and then also we can move forward. So now we can see a slide on the pathway to BPC. Rohan, can I request for the next slide, please?
Yeah.
Perfectly fine. A question not to you both of guys. Question to my friends, my community who's in the who's watching me on the live now. What do you mean by the word BA? And what do you mean by the word BPC? Because Rohan and Alok both says that they are BPC. If they are BPC, then why we have a word BA here? Might be a one-liner, one word you can say that BA means problem solver. Or what do you think, Alok? Might be you. You also can put in the chat window. Or Rohan. Definitely, I'm going to come this question to you as well. Okay, Rohan, according to you, who is BA? Is Bachelor of Arts? Or,
That would be my first guess. Bachelor of Arts, of course.
and believe me, when I search, I remember that approximately 7 8 years back when I started this BA domain. Okay, I searched for the BA. It's come Bachelor of Arts. I said, "Oh wow, I'm not a Bachelor of Arts. I'm a BCom definitely. I'm a BCom graduate, but it's not the Bachelor of Arts I'm looking for." So, who is BA from your perspective?
See, when I say BA, in my understanding, it would be someone who can document things
Okay,
and who can be part of communication channels
okay,
to ask questions, to document. I
okay,
think that's all I think when I say a business analyst. Somebody I
okay,
can put it in a requirement gathering meeting, and
okay.
he can ask questions and document everything.
1 minute. Rohan, you are caught red-handed now. You only say who can go to the requirement gathering. I'll clear this doubt because it is a very big myth in the industry, in the market, that BA just do the requirement gathering. So wait for a few slides. I clear this doubt as well. Alok, what do you mean? What do you think about the BA?
Right. So business analyst, see, it is not a very new term, right? It has been there in IT world for a very long time. Any implementation project, service now, non-service now, whatever it is, right? So
Correct.
irrespective of the fact it is service now, it is industry standard term. And if you just decompose these two terms, business analyst, which means he is a person who is supposed to, he or she is a person who is supposed to understand the requirements of business, right?
Mhm.
Analyze them, and then see, how can those be delivered. That requires some more collaboration with other team members, but at least from that person's perspective, he is supposed to be understanding that business side of things better, and he should also be able to bridge the gap between business and technology, so that he can also write the user stories which can actually be delivered. So he has to understand that particular platform or tool
Mhm.
wherever you want to implement that business process, whatever it is, as I said, right? So service now, non-service now, whatever.
Okay, good. Now, according to me, the BA is the person who has the capacity and the capability to get and understand the other person need here. So generally I say that our parents, and specifically in the parents, our mothers are the best BA in that, in this world. Nobody can beat mothers. If you are not well, you're not happy, by any way, by hook by crook, she will come to know that why Alok or Rohan is not happy. So according to me, the person who has the capability and the capacity in this earth is a BA now. Then who is the BPC? Let me go in the reverse order. 18 years in the industry, Alok, 8 years in the service now domain, work in the customer side as well. Who is BPC for you?
So again, if you decompose the terms, right, business process consultant. So as I said, for business analysts, it is more about understanding what they are saying, and gathering the requirements, documenting it, turning it into stories, creating a BRD, FRD. But when you come to BPC, it is more of an advisory consultative role, which means you need to be an expert in the business process you are consulting about. You
Okay.
should be in the driver's seat. You should be in that leadership position wherein you are telling customer how we should go about it. So you understand their pain points, you understand the solution, wherever you have the solution in whatever platform. For example, let's say ServiceNow for now,
Mhm.
right? So those people should know exactly how it works, what are the best practices involved, what are those implementation insights, and how to drive things. What comes first, what comes later, how to do the road mapping as well, right? What we can do right now. So it is, as I said, the word itself says consult, business
Right.
process consultant. So consulting is a very important aspect here. So
Okay.
yeah.
What do you think, Rohan? Now
I,
discussion is getting very hot because I
yeah.
can see a lot of people from the community, Sanjay, Ishwar, Dr. Swati, I can say Abhin, Vibhor, they're putting their own words as well. And also request to everybody who is watching this live, I want to be know that one word according to you which can define the BA. Like I say, BA is a problem solver. What do you think? What is the BA according to you? Rohan, over to you. What is BPC and who is BPC?
I think I'll pick up what Alok just said, right? So he's the advisor, he's the driver, and also suggests the best practice, help with road mapping, and I will supplement the same. So in my experience, a BPC is someone who can own the outcome as well. So owning outcome would be that. I will take very simple example from my recent experience. So let's say we do implementation of walk-up experience. Now, walk-up
Right.
experience is a very simple module within ServiceNow. Takes a week to configure. Now, configuration, understanding, suggesting to the customer. The first step is suggesting to the customer that there is such a module that
Right.
exists, that you can put it into a store or your IT bar, wherever it is. So first step is that. So that is the advisor role. That is also the best practice, one who suggests on the best practice. So
Okay.
that two things are taken care. Now I am going to the driver side of things. So driver is not just from perspective of implementation, or not just from perspective of how the process would look like for you. The driver is also of the outcome. So let's say when I implement it, are people using it? Are people really converting from their old habits to the new habits? And
Okay.
at least making sure that they are in the governance side of things. That okay, I observed or monitored 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I see something is turning, and if there is some gap that they feel, they can advise more and maybe take it to the real change. And that's where I think BPCs have a very critical role to play, of a change agent or change manager, let's say, or the one who drives outcome, because
Perfectly fine.
implementing is not 100%, I mean it's 99%,
Correct.
but taking it to the beyond the success line, it's the BPC who has to own it.
Perfectly fine. And I guess Kshitij also say very well that BPC lay out the process on which client will have their future mode of operation. So it is not only the outcome, it is outcome plus output. Both are in the hands of BPC, that how he can drive that bus in that particular direction. Very fantastic. Thanks, Arohan,
That's
on this
exactly
particular.
what you said when we say as is versus to be gap analysis, right? So
Correct.
this is your current process, this is a to be process, and I think as Rohan said, this is very important one, right? So as a part of this organizational change management (OCM), they need to ensure that they
Correct.
do that hand holding, they do the training, and they ensure that whatever outcomes we thought to achieve as a part of this project are actually achieved, and
Yes.
whatever gaps are there, fill those gaps as well.
100%. And according to me, that BPC is like a doctor. If you tell the doctor that what problem you're facing, he can consult, he can suggest you the best medicine and take you from the disease to the recovery path as well. And Melos will also say that BA is a connector. Definitely, BA is a connector. It's a bridge between two different parties, and that's what we're going to be discussed now. So Rohan, what do you have in the next slide now?
And you became Doctor Atul, just to again he said,
Yeah, we
congratulations
have a
becoming
doctor
Doctor.
Atul.
Thanks, Alok. What is the next slide you have in? Okay. So now let me clear your doubt, Rohan, my friend. And how many of you think that BA just do the requirement gathering? You can put your thoughts yes or no in the chat window. I'm sure in this I can see almost 25, 28 people are there in this session now. And 80 to 95% people say BA just gather the requirement. Alok, do you think yes, it's correct?
Of course not.
But Rohan said yes in the beginning. So
Yeah,
Rohan,
You just
you cannot.
putting on the spot, man.
I
So
still think it is, so I'm open to change.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you see this diagram, requirement gathering is the one part of the BA activity. So so now I'm just clubbing two words, BA and BPC, because currently the market, specifically if I talk about ServiceNow market, they're not looking for the BA, they're looking for the BA come BPC, and I'm sure that Alok and Rohan, you will agree with me on this particular part. So what the BA do? Going in the workshop. If I am a BA, it is not that I just go and say, "Hey, client, what do you want? Tell me." Client says, "What you are bringing for me." So we have to do as a requirement planning first, management first. That when to go, where to go, what agenda should be there, how many days it's required, who will note down the notes, who will bring the notes, what are stakeholders. So all these things has been done in this part, and this is the first step of the BA journey or the BA work, that is the requirement planning. Once you've done the requirement, so like I give example, I'm sure that none of you know that to make this session happen, it took 2 months for me to follow up with Alok and Rohan. Then Alok has some personal commitment, so we delay this for another 2 weeks. Sit together, prepare the deck, share our thoughts, share our experience, and finally we're here. So in the beginning, what we had done was the planning, which I started. Then I reach out to these guys. Guys, I need to be know your thoughts. That is what the requirement elicitation, which we call the requirement gathering. And if you see in this picture, only requirement elicitation, the one part. Once I get the requirement, then I have to be analyze and document. Because if you just listen, you will not document. Documentation can be in the form of stories, in the BRD, FRD, SRD kind of things will be there, and you analyze. Alok, I want to go on the moon. What do you think? Is it a requirement or not?
course, it is requirement, feasible, not feasible. That is something we will decide.
Perfectly fine. So this work has been done in the second step, that is requirement analysis and the documentation part. Now, yes, Atul, you can go on the moon. Solution assessment and the validation. Now, what do you think, Mr. Rohan, my friend? Is you are doing this part? I'm 100% say yes.
Yep.
Correct. So this is the myth that we have in the market, we have in the industry, we have in our minds that BA just do the requirement gathering. And I'm sure everybody who's in this session, they understand that yes, everything mentioned here has been done by everybody. And finally, we communicate to the customer that boss, this is what you're looking for, this is what we discussed, this is what we agreed, and finally, over to you now to
Sign
give us a
off.
sign. Correctly. So here the sign of work on this particular part. Now, what your thought, Rohan, on this particular picture? What do you think?
I think one perspective that has changed for me is the solution assessment and validation. Right.
Correct.
So this is something I was not very sure that we do.
Because generally we BA do, but with the collaboration of the technical teams,
Yep.
right? And when we write the story, yes, it can be done, not be done, kind of things will be there.
Right. So
And please go ahead.
there are two parts to everything, right? So functional and technical part, right? So at least functional part BA can own in terms of
Correct.
how, for example, there is integration requirement. You can talk about how will the data come, at what stage the data will be triggered, from which system to what system, what is the golden source, bidirectional, unidirectional, right? So all those things, and what are the actions which are supposed to be taken in these systems at different sessions.
Yes.
So this is
Yes.
where, yeah, they do
And
the functional part of it. Yeah.
functional part, right? And we are doing these things, but on the overall picture says, oh, you are BA, you just do the requirement gathering. And you should also put the right thing. BA is the person consult under the business requirement to demands and try to build the service, not technical solution to meet the business demand effectively. 100% of this particular part. And Swati also say they do the requirement gathering along with they show the direction as well. That is what the consulting says. 100% agree. Raj says yes, I'm agree that is not one. And finally, Abin say, so true that amazing slides, Atul. Oh, thank you so much. It's not credited by me only. It's the collaboration and the efforts of with you all together here. Okay, what next in the slides, Rohan?
Let's go.
Okay, let hold for a minute. Alok, we see that a BA gather the requirement, assessment, validation, and communication. What do you think that is this slides? Sorry, is this skills are okay, or what your experience is on this particular part?
Right. In fact, the skills we have put in here are based completely on the roles and responsibilities which we talked about in the last slide, right? So if you
Right.
see everything, each and every part of that last slide, which means requirement elicitation, this is where the questioning skills matter, right? WH
Correct.
questions: who, what, where, when, how much, all of those questions. This is why I think, as I mean, we are saying that BA does not only gather requirements, but requirement gathering is definitely one of the very important aspect of a BA's journey, right? Now, to gather those requirements, they need to ask those questions. And as I said in English, you have those WH questions. Ask those questions, document the answers, and then understand what personas they're talking about, at what are the trigger points, who does what, when and where. All of those things have to be actually asked. How many users will be using it, right? Because you might need to do performance testing also as a part of scenario, right? Now, to do all of this, you need to have communication skills, right? Because without having a clear communication skills, so this is very important aspect of it, that you
Correct.
need to have strong communication skills, because you need to talk to customers. There are multiple single point of contacts for multiple streams on the customer side. You will have to talk to solution architect. You'll have to talk to technical team and explain them everything, whatever is expected to be done. Now, as we had one more aspect there in the required in the previous slide, which talked about analysis, right? Now, unless you have those analytical skills, can this be done? If this can be done, what are the dependencies? What are the other considerations? Should it be done right now? Should it be done later on? Is it a part of best practice? All of that analysis. In fact, when you do analysis, you also see data from customer side. So when you see data, you have to see whether this data is feasible enough to put in service now as it is. As I said, forget about service now. If you see this part of the slide, there are two different aspects of it. One is generic BA skills, and second is additional skills for ServiceNow BA, which means whatever skills you need for any business analyst. As I said, it is beyond ServiceNow. It is industry standard word. So those are there in the left hand side. But
Correct.
whatever is in the right hand side are extra skills required for a person who is doing business analysis in ServiceNow domain, right? So if you see, a requirement elicitation is of course one of the skills, key skills. They have documentation, as Rohan mentioned, right? They have to draft stories. They have to draft cross-functional flow diagrams. They have to draft BRDs, FRDs.
True.
Story writing, that is the primary deliverable what they have, right? They need to have a clear understanding of agile methodology, because nowadays most of the projects are in agile methodology.
True.
So which means that they need to understand what are their roles in multiple agile ceremonies. You have sprint planning, you have sprint demo, you have sprint retrospective, you have sprint review, you have a lot of other ceremonies in agile. So you need to
Correct.
understand what part does a BA play in those particular ceremonies and play through to, because as I said, in most of these ceremonies, BA plays a very important role,
True.
right? Backlog planning, all of that, they have a very important role to play. Presentation, of course, because when you want to present the cross-functional flow diagram or BRD or whatever, you need to go back and ask customer, this is what I have documented, this is what it looks like, a concise view, a precise view for you to consume. So see if that makes sense to you, right? So flow charting, of course, you have to create as is versus to be diagrams, a lot of flow diagrams in different flows. This is also required, and stakeholder management. Now, of course, as I said, these are very generic skills required for any business analyst in any domain,
Correct.
right? Now, if you see the service now part of it, now, of course, being a service now business analyst, you need to know some little more things. For example, first thing you should know is ServiceNow platform, right?
True.
You should know at least the basic administrative. You should know where to go, how to navigate, which screens to use, how to do what. And I would, in fact, say if you're doing the first project and you are at least learn incident management, problem management, the basics of ITSM, right? The foundation data, where the data looks like, ideal processes. Now, what I've seen is generally what people do is if they have not been into ITIL consulting, they start the journey with service. Now, this is where they get into a problem wherein they have not seen the ITIL side of things. They don't know
True.
the process per se. So I would recommend strongly that they should know basic ITL processes, at least incident, problem, change, request, knowledge, release, deployment, everything, because that gives them a clear perspective of how things go on and how does an ideal process look like,
True.
right? Because if they don't understand the process, they will not be able to understand
Move
what
forward.
customers are saying, the pain points of customers, right?
Right.
Now, third one, if you see, it says minimum 1 to 2 service now out of the box modules. So as I just said, incident, problem, change, whatever, these are very basic ones. Service now has now 70, 80 applications, right? So I'm
Right.
not saying that we have to learn all of them. It is a journey. It takes time to learn one by one, but at least start with one or two. And to
True.
the first one should be ITSM for sure. CMDB basics, right? Because most of your ServiceNow applications are focused completely on CMDB. Not completely, but at least they have a very
Used.
strong focus
Correct.
on CMDB, the foundation data. This is very, very important. Nowadays, if you see, there is one more thing called as now create methodology. This is very interesting thing which came like 2 3 years ago. uh, I was working on a project. Somebody asked me, is there something, do you know about now create? I didn't have any answer. I was like, no, I've never heard of it. When I checked the repository, I
Right.
realized ServiceNow has done a humongous amount of work, uh,
Correct.
putting in all those documentations, whatever you need to learn those docs. So you have a lot of assets. We'll talk about different kind of assets, but what I'm
Yes.
talking about is you need to understand the methodology to deliver a project, ServiceNow projects, right? And those methodologies are covered very well in Now Create part
Yeah.
of ServiceNow.
And just to be add on this part, Alok, before the now create, there was a term used by ServiceNow called the SIM, continuous
Yes.
improvement methodology, and that has been renamed, rebranded, and then ServiceNow come up with the now create methodology actually.
Did they also have assets at that time in
No,
those?
they
In that?
don't have asset. They just have a
Okay.
kind of a methodology that if you want to
That's
implement something,
methodology.
what should we go right?
Initiate, deliver, execute, close,
Correct.
that kind of thing, right? Yeah.
Yes.
This is more. I think now when we talk about Now Create, it is a very big repository. It has a lot of documentation, which are especially for BS BPCs. I can tell you from experience, this is really really good. Yeah. So
Correct.
focus on them. We have reportings. So whenever you start any project, right? Eventually, what is the outcome? If you see, especially I'm talking about service now.
Mhm.
So the interesting part is that ultimately they want governance for the process. They want the processes to be
True.
done better
Better.
what they were doing earlier. Now how do you measure this? You measure this using reportings and dashboards, using the
Right.
right governance in place. Now to do that, this is where there is a very famous saying called as begin with an end in mind, which
True.
means when you start talking about reporting and dashboard, you should know the final outcome, and based
Outcome.
on that you should design a system, because you should be able to design it in a way that you can gather that data, whatever you're expecting out of the system, out of the process, at the end of it. If you don't design it in such a way, eventually you will not be able to get the
Achieve what
data.
you correct.
Yeah, but ServiceNow generally has a lot of out of the box reports and dashboards which can solve the purpose to a large extent, but still some customers
Got
need
it.
some custom reports as well, right? Then you see gap analysis as is versus to be. This is very important as a part of service now journey, because every customer has some as is process for something,
Correct.
right? They have some kind of CMD, they might be doing it in Excel sheet, they have some kind of documentation, they'll be doing some kind of tasks based on email, SharePoint, whatever. So
Right.
you need to understand what is this as is process, what has to be transformed, and what will be the to be process when the process gets consumed to service now eventually.
Okay. I have a question for you. Might be this question goes for Rohan as well. What method, what technique, what module, or what I can say tool, platform, system you use to do the gap analysis part? Because generally this question come in you also part of my WhatsApp group as well. So generally this question come, Atul, I got a new client and I want to do the gap assessment. So how you start? Let me Alok just take a rest for a minute and I'll come back go back to Rohan now. Rohan, what techniques you use to do the gap analysis? How what's your approach?
Okay, I'll share a recent example rather.
Hmm.
So let's say a there is a process of fulfillment of one kind of request. So
Okay.
let's say that that request is called as contract review, as
Okay.
simple as that. So the
Okay.
contract review is the name of the process, and the process is currently being done. As Alok just also pointed out, there would be as is, right? Nothing when you talk about from a ServiceNow perspective, brand new processes are generally seldom created. So there
True.
would be something already existing, maybe in emails, G Sheets, or Excels, wherever. Now, this process, contract management, was being maintained in a email kind of manner. So
Hmm.
email, and then to track the email, there would be some Excels. Now, they are asking us, can you create some kind of catalog so
Hmm.
that the vendors can submit, or somebody can submit their contracts, or the department heads can submit the new contracts, and the legal team can evaluate it.
Okay.
As simple as that. It's very simple. You just dump the contract, it goes to the legal team reviews it and adds comment and gives it back to you.
Correct.
Now, uh, requirement wise it's fine, but once you have deployed it everything, there would be a question of what value did you realize. So if you, again, as Alok also pointed out, have the end in the mind in the beginning,
True.
start with the end. So so how do you realize value? So one way of realizing value is the time saving. Time
True.
saving directly converts into money saving. So how do you then measure it? So for anything that you want to show value towards has to be measured as well. So you say, okay, it will save time, then
Hmm.
so money. So how do I first measure it? So you do document the current process,
Okay.
work with the process owner, and get the assessment of at least the baseline of how much time is it taking as of now, each
Okay.
step, and what is the total turnaround time. So that
Okay.
is one kind of assessment that you do sitting with the process owner. And then once the process and then you make some assumptions, smart assumptions, that okay, these are the 5 steps that will be eliminated if we digitize it in ServiceNow. So all those 5 steps that have been digitized, for example, informing the stakeholder that I have received your contract.
Contract.
Now, this can be directly done by ServiceNow emails. You don't have to really send out a mail.
True.
And then there will be tracking of SLAs, these that, you don't have to track it on Excel.
Excel
So
sheet.
you find out, okay, there are 12 steps as of now, which are being done via emails and whatnot. Out of 12, 5 would be eliminated. So they are direct time saving. Now there are 7 steps or 8 steps that are left. Out of 10, 5 are eliminated, so 5 are left. So 5 have some baseline timings.
Okay.
And when you digitize it, then first you make some assumption that this much time would be reduced, and then you measure it after a month, or let's say after a pilot, and then you have a very clear comparison with and that number nobody can refute. And I have
True.
seen that this works really well when you want to translate something into real value and show it to at least a VP level, because they will
Right.
not go for English. They
Right.
will
They will
not
go for the
buy.
value.
Yes, they will go for the
The
numbers.
well
They want to
numbers.
look at
Right.
how detailed you
Okay.
are.
I have
Yeah.
I have one question. Might be everybody in the audience as well. This question: can I use the Chat GPT for this purpose? Answer is yes or no. Just say yes or no. Alok, what do you think? Can I use Chat GPT for the gap analysis?
You can use ChatGPT pretty much for almost everything, to be very honest. The only thing is you just need to be careful enough
That's
to
the
ensure
point.
that you validate the outcome, right? Whatever
Correct.
you're doing, because based on experience and skills, you should be very clear to understand whatever ChatGPT is coming up with. Is it actually doing it? But most of the times I have seen it really does a good job. You just
All
need to
right.
do 20-30% editing, but yeah, most of that
Yes.
really
So,
is
so, so just for the community who is watching online at point of time, we have a slide which help you to understand that how to leverage Chat GPT in the AI world as well. Sorry, in the BA world as well. Okay, Alok, I guess just 2 or 3 more skills are pending from your side. Let's complete it, then we
right,
move
right, right.
forward.
So we were on the gap analysis part,
Yes,
just talked about, right? As is versus to be. You need to understand what is the current process and how does that process look like in service. Now, this is where I was saying that you need to know at least out of the box process of service now for that module which you're implementing. And again, this is more of a BA BPC skill set, right? So
true.
everything is not expected of BA. As I said, if the BA is junior enough and then he just started a journey, then BPC can come in picture and do this gap analysis part of it, right? That how does it look like in service now versus your current process. Now we see the next one is ServiceNow Agile application. This is important because most of the customers, I mean, they have Azure, they Azure DevOps, they have Jira, they have other tools as well to
Well
do
said.
their story management and epic stories and everything. But still, as a ServiceNow person, you should know ServiceNow Agile application, wherein you can write those stories, write those epics, themes, features, and see where those charts are looking like. Where is backlog chart? Where is velocity chart? All of those things which are from an agile perspective, you should know as a BA because you do a lot of work on stories, right? You kind
True.
of create epics, you map them to you create stories, you map them together, you create dependencies of within stories. So this is a very important task. And as I said, you should know it any which ways without ServiceNow, with ServiceNow. But yeah, because you're a ServiceNow business analyst, so it is expected of you to know it at least how does it work in ServiceNow, right?
Perfectly fine, right? So we,
Mm,
we can say the story are like a foundation of any ServiceNow implementation. If you write the wrong story,
I think
you're putting the wrong foundation.
not only ServiceNow, to be very honest, stories are foundation of any implementation as far as agile is concerned, right? So you need to you need to be able to write stories very well. This is a very
Right.
important skill for a BA.
Yes, I mean we're referring to the Agile 2.0. Correct.
Yeah, yeah.
Good.
So then I think if I go further, you see customer demo workshops.
That we
Now,
do.
in maybe this is important, right? So you should be able to demonstrate how does out of the box process work. Now, one thing is to know that, right? Which knowledge wise you may know that, which is fine, but you should know the flow. You should talk to customer about. For
Correct.
example, as an incident manager, if you are talking about incident management demo, you should know the different personas. As a service desk analyst, I will use this particular flow, right? As
Right.
an incident manager, I'll see these reports and dashboards. As a fulfillment group, I'll use this kind of flow. As
True.
the management, I'll see these kind of reports. So this is where demo and workshops are not the exact replica of a knowledge in service now, to be very honest. Like
Hmm.
this is very important to understand. You may know a lot of things service now, but when it comes to demo, it is a different skill set altogether because it has to think from customer's perspective. You have to think, you have to wear that hat and see what
Yes.
are those people interested in rather than what you
Right.
know, right? So this is nothing to do with what you know. It is more about what are those people
What
interested in,
the,
right?
yep. I remember one saying here that only the pincher know where the shoe, sorry, or the beer know where the shoe pinches. So when you go in the customer side, you become a customer, then you know that where it is the problem is there at point of time. Very
Right.
perfectly you said. Yep. Okay,
Right.
this the last we have now SN Foundation data, right? What is this? That foundation data?
Right. So this is, I think, as I said, for any system, you will need some kind of data to work with the system, right? But as far as ServiceNow is concerned, you have some kind of data which is marked as a very critical data and kind of foundation data, right?
Correct.
Which is your end users, sorry, your user, you entire user information,
Correct.
your company information, right? Your groups, your locations, your departments, your business units. Because eventually you understand one thing very clearly, right? Wherever you go, your reportings will be always based on this slice and dice.
True.
Location wise, show me the report. Show me the report department wise. Show me the costing business unit wise, right? So team wise, what is the SLA? All of those things eventually fall under that bracket. That who is doing better, right? So which
Correct.
is where you're found, and without this data, any which ways you can't function because you need to be able to assign those tasks to somebody. So to do that, you of course have to have uh, the data in the picture so that you can use that data for this. So I think there are a lot of things, product models. There are a lot of other things which comes in the foundation data. But yeah, it is a very important. It depends on module to module, right? So for not every module,
Correct.
you don't need every kind of data. But as I said, users, location, groups,
The
company.
foundation which we say always right.
This is definitely for sure required. But for asset management, you will need product models also,
Correct. Correct.
right?
Okay.
Contracts. Yeah.
Great. So we have two questions in the chat as well, but we'll pick up a little later. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay. Now I am a BA, and generally I'm sure this question come to everybody in mind. I started as a developer. I become a developer, senior developer, architect, platform owner, platform architect kind of things. Then SME. What about the BA or BPC path? This slide is going to be clearly that doubt that what is the actual progression or the progress bar for the BA and BPC. We'll start from Rohan to you. What do you think? And then we'll go for the I'll look to your side on this particular slide.
Okay. I like to just emphasize before we go on this slide on the part of reporting and dashboarding. So Alok has emphasized it already enough, but there has to be a section of conversation focused on what dashboards, what reports you want at the end. This
Correct.
has been, I have seen this many a times where this goes wrong. And why, let's say you miss out on this conversation, what happens is that developer will develop their way. You don't know what developer is going to do in the backend.
True.
They can create a field, they cannot create a field. They
Correct.
can directly put something in a variable that will later be will not be accessible at a report level.
True.
Then what do? Do you change the entire architecture? So that's where a lot of things go wrong. There is a lot of rework, redesign that comes in if you miss out on the report component, because developer will find out the easiest way to get things done. It may be a one big script that he builds and gets the catalog or whatever in place. But if he is not aware that these are the variables on top of which reports are going to be created, he will not be mindful of it, and then there is a redesign effort that goes into it. So
Correct.
for BA, very important to make sure separate section for dashboarding and reporting.
Nice, nice. So what do you think about this career path? Is it think that yes, this is the right path and these are the kind of a skill or the sets we required? Also, just to put the double quotes here, the experiences which you mentioned or the certification we mentioned is just on the basis of our own experience. It can be more, it can be less as well. So don't assume that what Atul, Rohan, Alok says in the recording or the session, these are the only one that if I'm a BPC, I just have to do one CS. Might be the requirement for two or three. It's depend on that. Okay, so let me start with Alok from you. What do you think that is career path staying saying here? Because we have legends as well. Green says soft skill, then blue says
Right.
hard skills, and then certifications.
I think at a high level, if you see this shows you a very clear career path in terms of if you are a BA today, then how do you progress a journey going forward? You can become a senior business analyst, you can become a business process consultant, then a senior one again, and then you have a plethora of options opened. You can become a product owner, you
Wow.
can become practice lead, you can become pre-sales, you can be into executive leadership, like any kind of delivery manager kind of role, right? All those are open for you after a certain, of course. It is not that you want to get this role like immediately, but then you have to have that experience, see what it takes to deliver everything. Because the moment you grow further, your knowledge has to grow. Of course, experience has to grow,
Correct.
skills have to grow. So
Correct.
eventually, you will reach that position. But again, see, this can change to organization versus organization, right? It can change to individual versus individual depending on their particular interest. What are the roles available for them to grow further? So I think this is not a very kind of this is the only path. This is more of these are multiple possibilities which you can open up to depending on your own interest and passions, what you want to do eventually at a high level, right?
Yep.
Now, yes, Rohan, sorry, you want to say something?
No, I just acknowledged. I
Oh,
mean,
okay, okay, okay.
this is the one path to take
To take.
Yeah,
from a
this is
BA
definitely
BPC perspective.
something which we have seen quite often in our experience.
All
This is
right.
what people just do as well. So if you see, as Atul mentioned, that there's this arranged in soft skills versus hard skills versus certifications. So certifications, of course, like not mandatory thing, but important to have, because what I can tell you, right? So I know a lot of people are not very big fans of service and certifications because the questions are a little tricky rather than knowledgeable. So they are very tricky
Correct.
in nature, right?
And
But the point is, I'll tell you, right?
debatable question
Yeah,
as well. So
debatably. But then the point
please.
I'm trying to make is when you prepare yourself for a certification, you learn a lot. This is what I
Correct.
want you to focus on, right? So even if you
Correct.
don't get the exam, just prepare for it. Get that voucher, right? And so because when you learn that entire journey and you practice, you understand different kind of things which can be done. So and the good part is that if you have some experience already of that module, then it gives you better understanding of things better, right? So you're doing CIS, ITSM. If you have one or two already in your belt, it gives you better experience, right?
Right.
That is one part of it.
So
Uh,
it
yeah.
means by seeing this slide, I can say I started from the kind of a junior BA, I can become a senior BA, then go to the BPC, then senior BPC, and now like you are working as a BPC lead of for your company in the India location, then I can go in the platform owner, product owner, practice lead, pre-sales kind of things will be open for me. Is that my understanding is correct? And also to move to this particular part, then definitely we have to be go for the one by one that certifications are required, plus skills are required, knowledge is also required. And definitely yes, it's I can say 100% that yes, to move to the next level, certifications are equally important and mandatory as well. What the certification required for the BA we'll discuss in the later on slides, but yes, I put little emphasis debatable question, knowledge plus the certification. But yes, if you move forward, the certifications are equally important in the ServiceNow ecosystem at point of time. And Abhin also agree with me on this that certification is the major ask for the clients.
I think that's a very important point, right? That
Correct.
even if you want to do it or don't want to do it, right, it does not really matter because customers nowadays are asking for it. If you're
Yes.
implementing software asset management, they'll ask CIS, Sam, have you done it? If you're
Correct.
doing so this is somehow we are, and as I said, right, when you prepare for it, you really learn a lot, and
100%.
these are really important. So do these certifications, and I think yeah, if you see the skill set, it is very clearly mentioned here that as far as certification concerned, you have CSA, then you have one CIS, then you can do multiple CIS, and then do
Correct.
some leadership kind of stuff.
So
Uh,
is CTA CMA also come in this picture? What do you think, Alok or Rohan?
okay. So see, CTA, CMA
CTA,
are good. I
CMA
mean,
may
of course,
not
they're good.
be.
Yes.
eh,
Sorry, go ahead, please, Rohan. Rohan, go ahead, please. We'll come
there's
back to
some
Alok.
mix-up of video streaming, but yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, please go ahead.
CTA, CMA may not be something to aspire for at the very beginning. So the very beginning, maybe I'm a new BA on a new BPC, let's say, then I would focus more on getting a really good grip on the platform itself, on the processes itself. So some CSA is mandatory, of course. Then some CIS, wherever, depending on client demand or opportunities in the market, I will prepare myself for some CIS.
Right.
Now, if I am at a very good place where I have a fantastic grip on the platform, I know five or six modules within ServiceNow, plus I have one domain expertise. For example, I'm an expert in a BFSI domain. Now, if I have all of these under control and I'm a master already at my skill, then it can be a level up, but not a very, it's not
Mandatory.
aspirational at a very beginner
Beginning,
or
right.
intermediate level.
Okay, so it means like if I am a like a senior BPC with almost like experience in 10 plus years in service now, then I should start thinking that yes, I have to be go for the CMA or the CTs as well. So just to be clear that we are not saying that what is best role, best solution for the B or BPC in this world, but yes, if you are on this level, you start thinking that yes, I have to be go level up. What should I pick up on this particular part? Great, thank you so much. And few questions here. Number one, I'll pick up this particular part. To start BPC, from where to start means which stage start from the slide. Jogendra put this question.
Okay. I will take up that question. Yeah.
Please.
So now from my experience, so I started as a developer. I worked as a BA as well, and then I moved towards the BPC role. So I probably from my experience, I'll be able to tell you where that cutoff is. Let's say. So you are a BA, which means that as we discussed already, you have to look at the slide also, right? So you have to be a very active listener, analytical thinker, clear communicator.
Right.
You should know from a hard skill perspective, writing user stories, basic ServiceNow navigation, basic feature sets of ServiceNow, so that you can do a functional fitment of whatever are you hearing from the customer and do some level of assessment. And then requirement gathering, of course, this goes without saying. You should have CSA and ITIL. Now, where you jump, or you take a leap from BA to a BPC would be that you have a core understanding of, let's say, the ITIL framework itself, where you know what are the different processes there and have a deep understanding. Again, let me be very precise while I'm saying this. So knowing a process is one thing, but understanding the process on the customer side is a very different skill.
True.
So it's all about getting in their shoes. So ITIL incident, if you read and if you look at ServiceNow, it's out of box best practice. Why not absolute perfect? But when you go to customer environment, you will see little bit of deviations, addition, subtraction based on customer environment.
True.
That's where you should be able to clearly visualize that process. So if you see the soft skill part, it is the process visualization. So
True.
are you part of those conversations where the organization is trying to visualize the process when they, and this happens all the time. Don't take it from a theory perspective. Anytime you are a BPC in a project, customer will tell you, okay, we have this process, we want to go to service now. If you do a lift and shift, and it's a crime, I'll tell you.
Yes.
Even using the word lift and shift is a crime nowadays. So
Yes.
you, no matter junior BPC, senior BPC, no matter if you use this word lift and shift, you will be looked at as a criminal in that meeting. So you have to be very clear with that. Okay, ITIL says this, out of box says this, but my customer, to achieve
Want
their
this.
outcome, yeah, they want to go in this direction. So let me think that okay, their current process is this. Can I suggest some changes to this to make it more efficient? So process visualization,
True.
facilitating this conversation. And the last but not the least, it is the assertiveness. Now,
True.
BAs are, as soon as you become a BPC, you are not an order taker. That is
Correct.
the differentiation between a BA and a BPC that I try to make. Thank you, Atul bhai. But and I'll tell you, it's not just me, not theory. You go to a customer meeting and you try to take orders from them. They will tell you very up close that, see, we have not asked for a BPC in this project as an order taker. You are here to consult. You are here to
Consultant.
guide me,
Correct.
right? So you become, as soon as you transition BA to BPC, you are no longer an order taker. You are a person who will assert his understanding, eh, and best practices, and not just take whatever they are saying. And there will be clients who will push you, but you have to be assertive in a way that, okay, to achieve your outcome, this is the best way to do it. And that is a soft skill. It's not a service now based skill. You have to modify yourself. Even I had to go through some kind of learning curve, right? So to be more assertive in a meeting, with backed with data, backed with some process from a industry
Facts,
perspective,
facts and figures specifically, right?
facts and figures, right? And then you take it to a next level where I have, when we were discussing internally, it has been specifically added that you should have the skill of CMDB and the platform.
True.
As a when you become a BPC, anything you talk about has to map to CMDB. Else the data model doesn't work out as outcome. Whatever you do, not map to CMDB will not give you outcome. So
Correct.
that is where we have to go. So this
Yeah.
is the distinction between BA BPC.
And one more question put by Jogendra itself. Story backlog will be done by product owners. Why BA BPC will write those? What do you think, Alok, on this?
See, POs generally tell you what the features they're expecting. They don't write the stories themselves. I mean, see, it can depend on organization to organization, because see, agile is also followed in different ways in different companies, right? So there is no hard fast rule. But I mean, if you see the roles and responsibilities, PO tells them what kind of features I'm expect. They talk about it at a feature level, right? Now, stories can be written by BA, and generally in ServiceNow project, we BAs do that part, right? So
Correct.
again, if somebody calls them PO, they can call them PO. They can call them even anything, whatever they want to,
Right. But
as a
but
part of
but
responsibility.
yes, but 100% agree that PO only says I want this thing and the overall level. Then BA BPC will break that things and build it in the chunks and the pieces as well. Okay, one more question from Bhavna will pick up little later. Can we go to the next slide, please, Rohan? Okay. Alok, we're just running short of time. Quickly, what is important here from the artifacts perspective?
And so, so ultimately, to deliver any project, what do you need, right? You need the information that, okay, what kind of deliverables do I need to deliver, and to deliver those things, what I need as an input. So there will be an input, there will be an output. So if you see, as I said, we don't have much time, so we'll just take it really quick. If you see, for every process, whether it is incident, problem, change, asset, whatever, you have something called as process guide in Now Create. So refer wherever you see NC in the end, which is actually Now Create. So all these documents are in Now Create. So for example, if you see document number 9, it says customer workshop preparation. This is something which a BPC generally uses, because this gives them all those questions which they need to ask to customer before even starting the workshops. And based on the answer, they create the workshop deck as well. Once you do that, you have something called as process workshop presentation. You can take it, and I am not saying take it as it is and go to customer. You have to do some changes based on their statement of work, their pain points. Just don't take it as it is, but it'll be a very good reference point for you to start with. Then you have something called as starter stories. Now these are real deliverables at the end, right?
True.
So you need to ensure that all the basic items which are there in starter stories are there, because sometimes we even don't know what to ask. This is where starter stories help, right? Then you have something called a scoping guide. The scoping guide is when you, and it is more of a senior role. BAs do not generally refer to scoping guide. It is more of when you are into pre-sales, when you are into signing a statement of work and talking to customers at a very high level. This is where you can understand at a high level how to scope things, right? There is something called as guided setup in your personal development instance. So it is not available for every single module, but for majority of them it is available. And to be very honest, if you want a quick win, if you're not more into consulting right now, it is for you it is more of time bound implementation. You have just 1 month you have to implement this in from change. Just go out of the box and follow this guide setup instance. It will give you whatever you want at a very basic level. I'm not saying everything, but
True.
at a very basic level, right? Then I think, yeah, you can leave 6 and 7 for now, right now, because they're not so
What is
important.
number 8? ServiceNow.com.
Eight is something I will tell you. So this is a finding which I did accidentally. So for me, it was a eureka moment, to be very honest, right? So what I was doing is I was just going through ServiceNow.com. I checked their product. So for example, I checked IT asset management. Now, on the top of the product, they have the entire demo, what this product is all about. But when you go towards the end of the product page, on the same page on ServiceNow.com, you will find all those links of that particular uh, document, particular process. So, for example, what is general IT asset management as a process? It is there in ServiceNow.com also. What is generic incident management process? It is there in ServiceNow as well, right? So, if you go to any of their product page, if you go towards the bottom of, I think I'm just trying to see if we can show that on the screen, but
Yes, please, if you can show for quickly, because this is something I know. ServiceNow Docs, I know ServiceNow Now Create, but ServiceNow.com is that much
go,
helpful. I
go
have
to
no idea.
products. Yeah, go to products. Select any of them. Go to top products, left hand side. Yeah, yeah. Open any product. Maybe asset management, IT. Yeah, asset management. Click on this. Yeah, you'll get in the right. Yeah, IT asset
So,
management.
so you mean, Alok, that before I go to the Now Create, I can go here and understand the high level
Right.
process which is given by
Yeah, wait,
ServiceNow.
right. Just wait a minute. Just go on the top, Rohan. Sorry, go on the top. So this is your product page. I mean,
Yes,
what does ServiceNow item do? Okay. Now, if you go towards the bottom of it, now go to the bottom. Scroll to the bottom.
little bit more here.
I think it is no, no. It is still downwards. Go to the end. Go to the end. Go to the end. These are all. Yeah. This is where you see now these questions. Do you see what is item? What is enterprise asset management? What is inventory? This is where it talks about generic process.
Wow.
So, as a BA or a BPC, I would suggest if you do not know much about that process, first learn it from here. I mean, there are multiple documentations around ITI and everything, which is you can always refer those documents if you have access to it. But if it is a quick win and you don't have any of the references,
Hmm.
you can just come here, see what do you mean by IT asset management as a process, and then you can map it back to ServiceNow. So this is a very, as I said, a eureka moment for me when I was just navigating through. I think it is very, very important, a very useful thing to refer to.
Wow. So it means if I need to be understand something very quickly, I can just open ServiceNow doc and go here and I can
ServiceNow.com, not docs.
sorry,
ServiceNow.com.
dot com. Yep. ServiceNow.com, open any
Right.
product, understand this part, and my work has been done. Great. Thanks, Alok. Miss, it's something which new for me as well to be learned here, to be see here. Coming back, Alok, Rohan on the slides, please.
Is it visible?
Wait, let me.
No.
No, you need to be at it again.
Okay. A session without a technical glitch does not sound good.
Yep, now I can see just me add in the studio. Okay, great. So what we have the next slide.
Now, the last
Let's
thing I
see.
just want to talk about
Sorry,
there, just last thing, like
please.
requirement gathering templates. So this is something unfortunately are not available in ServiceNow, and this is very important document because you gather requirements in those templates. So you have to develop them or just Google it around, see because in community you'll find a lot of templates already there. So use Google before you start creating it, right? Just see the ServiceNow community. But if you don't have it anywhere, use ChatGPT and see what makes sense to you, right? So you can, as I said, you can use ChatGPT almost for everything. It is just to
Correct.
validate things and then and tweak it accordingly. Yep.
Correct. Sure. Thanks. Now coming to the next slide. How many of us go for our requirement sessions? I'm sure everybody say yes. That Atul, yes, I go for the requirement gathering session. It can be a well planned, unplanned, small session, big session, multiple stakeholders. The problem is that when we as a BPC go in the requirement gathering session, we forget few of the terms. Okay, just one thing. Sheikh said to switch the role from dev to this, how to minimum. We have a slide on this part, Sheikh. Just give a few more minutes to be cover this part. Okay, so there's the things which is given by service now, sorry, not service now, with the BA. As a BA box, we refer BACCM, Business Analyst Core Concept Model. Whenever we go for any kind of a workshop, any kind of a requirement gathering workshop, we have to be very clear these terms. So these, like in the CSGM, they're the fundamental principles. In the same manner, in the BA world, these are the fundamental terms which will remain same across the BA journey, what you have to. Need says what a customer want to be achieved. And if you see, there the arrows are going from each and everywhere. It means every term is dependent, every term is related with other as well. So what a customer want to be achieved, that is a need. What solution you are providing it, technical, non-technical, quantitative, qualitative, that is a solution. And with that solution, what change is coming? Like mobile phones are a change, a transformation from the landline. Earlier, if I remember that, if you see from 1990s or 2000 2005 era, sometime we have the very big mobile phones which have to be carried, but now we have just a small mobile phone. That is what the change here. Also, we should know our stakeholders, to whom we are going to be work. Who is my decision maker, decision taker, decision provider, decision reviewer? Who is my stakeholder in that particular part? To whom I can reach out when I'm stuck, to whom I reach out when I have to be quick the things done in my part. Then the context. Like I put a question to Alok. Alok, I want to be going the moon. Atul, come on, we're talking about the service now, not your journey to the moon. Is it valid for the context which we're discussing it? No. So this is what is important. Sometimes when you go for the process workshops or the or the workshop perspective, customers start bringing a lot of things in the picture. Then you as a BPC, because Rohan says you are not the order taker, you are the manager here. So you have to be say, boss, you're going out of the context. We'll discuss it, but not now. And finally, you have to be see that what value you want to be achieved with this need, solution, problem, and the context here. Now the question come, and this is very fundamental question, because if you're new in the BR BPC world, what are the steps I have to follow before workshop, in the workshop, and the post workshop? Before that, Bhavna put a question that what is the difference between process workshop and the customer workshop? What do you think, Alok, on this particular point?
I think the terminology is a little different here. But I think we talked about two artifacts there. One is customer preparation deck, which means you have to ask some questionnaire to customer to create a deck. Process workshop is same. And for example, you have process workshop for every single process, incident management, problem management, change management. So you have to tweak that process workshop based on customer's pain point and statement of work, revalidate them. These are the items in scope, and then so these are two different things completely. But as I said, the word is not clearly mentioned here. So one is customer preparation workshop deck, and one is process workshop, service now process workshop, right?
Yes, next slide, please. Wow. Over to you, Rohan, for this one, because I think it's something which I'm more interested to be present in the discussion when we discuss internally as well.
Yep. So I'll quickly take 2 minutes to walk you through. So we have already done this conversation during our session already. So, but to emphasize on the each stage, this is quite important. So as a BPC, if or even as a BA, right? I will not make that distinction as of now. So there are three phases. So you are responsible for driving a workshop. The workshop can be of any module. Now how do you prepare yourself for that? So the first part is that you have a pre-workshop understanding of things. So what do you do pre-workshop? So a week before, so you do a 4K analysis. Basically, it says that, okay, I have to profile my customer. Who is it? Which domain? Is it BFSI? Is it telco or something? So that you know the keywords. Second is knowing the outcome. Why are you doing the workshop? Asking that. So if it is a process workshop, then or it's a transformation workshop, or it is simply a workshop for requirement gathering for some scope. So you have to understand the outcome of that workshop. What are you going to achieve after it? And then you have to know the processes that you are going to talk about. If it is a policy exception flow workshop, know the policy exception process. And that goes without saying. You have to know the process, at least the industry standard one. Then know the ServiceNow feature. At least have a basic understanding of, okay, this is the process, and this should map to this ServiceNow feature. For example, policy exception, if you talk about, maps to policy and compliance process
Yes, see.
of ServiceNow, right? So at least basic level, not going too deep. Now you have to have two things from a collateral perspective. One is the agenda sheet, so it's very clearly called out that there is no drift during the workshop, which is very common. And then second is questionnaire. What are you going to ask? Have a very clear questionnaire of what you're going to ask. And this can also proceed with you sending a 0-day questionnaire. So before even going to workshop, at least asking some basic questions to customer, so that you have something to start with. So that also happens a lot of time.
Right. And just to pause here, and to this thing point, know your customer outcome, process, features, agenda sheet, questionnaire. Make sure that you follow the BACCA model. You should remember the context, stakeholder, value, solution, and also you can follow the artifacts or the links or the suggestions given by Alok, that where you can go now. Create servicenow.com, starter stories. So you should be ready with this. Only then you should proceed for the next part. So what is important during the workshop? That is a key here, Rohan.
Yep. So let me be very brief in this. But you have to remember all of these all the time. So you have to call out the scope. A lot of time there is drift. Please make sure you stick to the scope and not go beyond it. Second is read the room. When you look at people, you should know who is who. So who is owning incident process? Who is owning the overall change management process? Who is the executive stakeholder? So that if they are talking, there is a material attached to it, or there is material value basically, and not that you are taking suggestions from everyone and not coming to a common ground. So you have to read the room, know the people you are talking to. Real time mapping, this helps a lot. Whenever you're talking to someone, you are gathering a requirement, try to map it to something in ServiceNow, or try to map it to at least a process, not a feature, of course, but at least do some kind of real time mapping. It saves a lot of time because you will forget a lot of conversations. You will forget a lot of points. Whatever they are saying after the call, even during preparation of MOM, you will feel that you have forgotten 30% of it. So don't trust your mind. Do some kind of real time mapping that, okay, this process they talked about. I don't trust my mind to remember things, to be honest. So, and then note critical gaps. So, what this is very, very, very important to note. Customers, like going to Moon or Mars can be one of the things customer will say. Note that down and mark a big star against it, because you may not right then and there say this is not possible because you are not in that context right now. The context is of requirement gathering, but make sure highlight it with red, blue, yellow marker, whatever it is, so that it does not get slipped to your backlog. If it gets slipped to your backlog, customer asks for anything, they will later tell you that, okay, this was documented, why is it not delivered?
They were
So
right.
please make sure any gap you feel, this may not be possible within ServiceNow. They are asking to store 2 GB of data, or store video as attachment to incidents. Just make note of it. ServiceNow may not be the best tool to do it. And then the 2V process, whatever they're asking, do something about it during the workshop. Templates is a very important part, so that you can document real time and do real time mapping, that you can get from ServiceNow and get from outside as well, Chat GPT, of course. And then at the end of the workshop, have some kind of process flows as is to be, a visual one, not in your mind, right? So again, and the last part is post workshop. So solution fitment, you have already done some kind of real time mapping. Now it is working with your development team or solution architect tech lead to figure out, okay, what is the solution fitment, what modules can go into. Then use case prioritization, what goes first. It can be, okay, let's start with you may think CMDB is the foundation of everything, let's start with CMDB, but
Correct.
that may not add a lot of value. Why? Because customer will not be able to see anything. Customer sees incident management, customer sees change management, they don't talk to CMDB on a regular basis. So use case prioritization so that value is delivered fast, and then they can see something. And then last, and the very important again, realign on the outcome.
True.
Many a time during workshop, after workshop, whatever was decided on day one, there is a lot of drift. At least call it out. Speak in a room that, okay, this is what we have agreed upon. And then see, you will, I am not kidding, you will see lot of people may think something else or may have some other ideas.
True.
And then you agree on a RACI metrics. A lot of people don't prioritize RACI metrics and the project get delayed. BRD, most important, of course, and then value realization. Agree on some outcome, right? Agree on what value are we going to achieve. I think that is all I will like to emphasize here.
Very perfectly explained and articulated, Rohan, here. I think everybody's okay and aligned with this. If you have any question, you can put it here as well. And just one closing comment from your side, Alok, on this particular part, because you work on the client side as well as the customer facing, and now you work with the partner. So, what are your thoughts on this slide?
I think all the points which Rohan highlighted are definitely important. There is no question about it. And this is a questionnaire which is written here in the first column, documentation collateral questionnaire. This is exactly the same thing. Bhavna, I was talking about customer workshop preparation tech, because in that you get those questions ready made. I think I'm not saying these are the only questions you have to refer, but you can add your own questions based on the SOW. But yes, this is exactly the same thing which we are talking about. And I think, as Rohan said, a very important thing, that do not trust your mind, because you will forget things, guys. So either document it right there in a diary, or write it on a notepad, virtual meeting, whatever. But document a discussion somewhere, because and people do ask questions after 10 days, because
Yes.
as you said, right, outcome realignment. So this is a very interesting step, because what happens is you agree on something, they'll say yes at that time. Later on, after 10 days, when you say the same thing, they'll, no, 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 we I don't think we agreed to that. And this is where you have to show them some minute of meeting, some kind of documentation. This is
Correct.
what we documented, right? So yeah, those are very important. And yeah, value is important. That what are those primarily, as he said, quick wins is a very important thing, right?
True.
Now, CMDB example he has given. So similarly, anywhere you find a very small thing to do, quick win, show them the value. Do it
Yep.
first. If there's not have dependencies, I think there are multiple things, but again, we don't have much time, so I will not go
I
deeper
agree.
into that.
There's a one question from Kshitij. I guess Rohan, you can be put it. Take that one. For the questionnaire part, can it be good practice to be sent questionnaire sheet to the client beforehand, so they also prepare to be an effective workshop? Before you answer, I'll give my latest experience. I'm running a process workshop, and believe me, guys, sending even the starter stories beforehand, sending the agenda beforehand, and sending the basic questions beforehand make my workshops finish very quickly. It was planned for 3 hours. Due to this beforehand work, it done in 1.5 hour only. And customers so happy. Wow, you send it earlier. Now you have a clear picture what you have to do. But what are your thoughts in this particular part, Rohan?
I think it's very critical. Rather, it should be the practice. No
Yes.
question about it. You send them 7 days in advance. Follow up once or twice that if there is any clarification you need, it saves so much time. I mean, no question about it.
It saves time, because see, when they come to the workshop, they have something in their mind. They are not
Mind.
surprised. Oh, okay. What do you need? Oh man, I don't know it. What is so? They have some idea. They can prepare for it. So definitely, it has to be done. Right. The only thing is that you may not need like everything on day one before workshop, because there are some templates you have to make them understand. So make a wise choice in terms of what kind of questions you can send before questionnaire, so just to set up their mind, and some detailed things which you have to explain for them to understand requirements. Explain that part in the workshop. But yes, some part of it should be sent in
So,
advance.
Rohan, are you agree with me that BA is not, or the BPC not only do the requirement gathering? The pre-workshop is requirement planning and the management. Agree?
Yes. Yep. You also read the SOW then, right?
Real
Yes.
No.
time mapping. He's doing
Real
real time
time.
mapping right now during
Real-time
workshop.
mapping. Yep. One question as put by Bhavna. Two questions put by Bhavna. Number one, that what are the tool we can use for the gap analysis, and what techniques we can use for the case prioritization. So might be for the first we take for the gap analysis part. Do you have any specific tool in your mind? Might be Alok.
We just use visual user chart, draw.io, whatever is available, right? Just create an SS diagram, create a 2B diagram, and if it detailed gap analysis, you might need to do Excel comparison also.
Correct.
This field, that field, right? So, but
Level,
then
table level
flow
management
level,
as well.
flow level and done at the normal visual or lucid chart.
Okay. And what technique you use, Rohan, for the case prioritization? Because you mentioned that use case prioritization.
So it's more around what MVPs I can shoot out very fast. MVPs meaning it should be usable, because let's take example of a customer who is transitioning from a tool, let's say Helix to ServiceNow.
Mhm.
Now, to transition from Helix to ServiceNow, there must be some of 10 processes, let's say 10 processes. Now, you ask that question, okay, to the client first, that, okay, what is the most
Critical
painful area
area.
right now,
Yes.
critical area, right? So, where you want to prioritize. So, that is one way. So, you ask the customer. The second part is that you also integrate your insights into it. For example, the CMDB part. Let's say somebody is moving to the vulnerability response management. Now, the first part I said you that, okay, incident is more important. CMDB can build later, right? But if you talk about vulnerability response, CMDB cannot come later. Vulnerability management will not work without CMDB. So you have to build you have to integrate the customer need with the insights that you have, and then prioritize. So customer will have their priorities. Then you share your thoughts, insight as a consultant. Again, putting that work clearly, that as a consultant,
Yep.
and then help them prioritize.
So it means it is not only you, it's mainly business need to be take a decision, but you can guide to the business that what is the best practice in this industry, that what case should we go first, right, Rohan?
Yes,
Great.
absolutely.
Thank you for the
Consultant,
confirmation.
not
Let's
order taker.
consultant. Yes. Remember, consultant, not the order taker. Sorry,
Yeah,
not the
see,
order
yeah,
taker.
see,
Yes.
like, see, for any prioritization, you can use the concept of simple impact, right? What value does it bring? How many people can it help?
Correct.
Right? So if it is quick win, go ahead. Urgent, so something is quite urgent, right? So impact, so same concept
Hmm.
works everywhere. Impact, urgency. Just think it in terms of customer, that how much impact will it have? How much urgent is it? Make it a quick win if it is doable quickly.
Correct. Let's go to the next slide now. Wow, tips and tricks. I think a lot of
Good.
things we covered, but few things I
Yeah, we
saw
have
here. Please go
we have
ahead,
covered
Alok.
almost everything. I think it is more about learning it hard way. So we have learned it hard way. All of us, most of the people who are sitting
Yes.
here, we just thought of letting you know some tips and tricks, so that you can do it quickly. You don't have to get that learning experience negatively. So take that as a
As a learning. And
right.
the ninth point which you mentioned, don't assume anything. This is what the
That
Rohan
is
says. Even don't assume your mind.
That is what I said, right? So, as I said, assume means you make an ass of you and me both, right? So, do not
Correct.
assume, guys. Especially from a BA, BBC perspective, do not assume anything. Ask,
Yep.
however silly the question is, ask that question and then document it also. Just asking is not enough. Document it and agree
Yes.
on an outcome eventually, right? So, if you see the first one says, refer statement of work thoroughly and ask any questions during sales to delivery transition. Now, everywhere, because you're not into sales, so pre-sales and sales team do that conversation when they deliver, transition it to you that this is what we've agreed, this is what we will deliver. Ask any questions, and if they don't have answers, they'll ask you to ask a question to customer. So do that
Correct.
exercise before you go to customer directly on day one, right? Understand it from your sales team or pre-sales team what they've agreed, what they've committed, what is it in the SOW, what is feasible, what is not feasible. Sometimes the very first question is licensing, right? They may have agreed for some additional features, and customers will not even have licenses for it. The project cannot start without having licenses. That is point number one. Point number two, I think we've discussed it already. Pre-workshop questionnaire. Point number three, we have discussed it already. Point number four, yeah. So I think in one of the slides, Rohan talked about during the workshop revalidate SOW. I think there was
Correct.
something called as right, Rohan, that you asked calling out the scope of work. Now this
Yes.
is very important because that is the first workshop. You need to be very clear. These are the items which are planned for this delivery. And if you think customer has told anything, no, this I don't have it, or I think we should have this, highlight that risk concern immediately. Raid log redact is a very important thing, not for a BA but for a PM. But
PM.
BA generally have to highlight those points to PM and customer both. So this raid, I'm telling you, stories, development, everything happens very smoothly, guys, everywhere. It is all about management of your raid items. You can say
True.
this is a risk. You have not done a proper analysis, mitigation, planning, and timeline attached to it. You will always fall short. I'm telling you. So this is based on experience. Be very serious about your raid items, right?
True.
Highlight, document, highlight, discuss, agree, whatever you want to do, but do it. Don't let them get loose, right? I think we talked about this point already, that based on customers' pain points, tweak your workshop decks, wear
True.
their head, think from their perspective. Do not think what you know from ServiceNow, what ServiceNow can do. Think it, this is a pain point mapping to this feature. This is a pain point mapping to this feature. This is not available ServiceNow out of the box. We have to customize it, configure it, whatever, right? Agreed on that point. Then sign offs, very, very important. Sometimes we do our work, we forget to take the basic things, right? And later on, we ask the question, when did I sign off, right? I have seen a
Right.
situation where you do story readbacks before the
True.
development, and by the time you go to showbacks, they're like, no, 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 we didn't agree to that. And then this is
Correct.
what I'm saying, readbacks are equally important as that of showbacks, because this
True.
is where you kind of, and we have seen a lot of changes even during feedback sessions, just a day before sprint starts, right?
Correct.
This is very important. Sign off is very, very important. And I think 7 point we've talked about multiply. 8 point also, as I said, whenever you plan sprints, you need to be very clear about what dependencies do I have, what are those
True.
considerations. For example, foundation data. Now, unless you have foundation data in place, you cannot implement any damn process in service now. This is
Agreed.
first thing, right? If there is a plugin to be installed, it has to be there. Without that, you cannot do anything. Any so the data, plugins, integrations, all of those things which are clearly dependent on each other. For example, you are trying to say, I want to trigger notification, right? Now, notification you can trigger, but what are dependencies? At what stage do we have that flow in system service now right now? Do we have that persona in system whom we have to send this notification? So do all of those kind of mappings earlier and plan a sprint accordingly. Ninth point, as Atul said, we have already talked about, and I can't put more emphasis on this one. This is really, really important, guys.
Right.
And sprint ceremonies, as I said, are definitely important. So
Yes.
do your part there.
One question to you, Alok, put by my friend from Noida, Atul. I met him in
Good
the
name.
meetup.
Good name.
Is defining SOW is also BA responsibility.
Officially not. It is done by pre-sales team and sales team. But reading SOW is your responsibility. However, because when you become a senior BPC, then in organizations which are not very large, you have to do even these things. I have done a lot of SOWs, to be very honest, right? So it depends on your roles. And officially, if you ask me, it is not okay. But as a part of any organization, you have to wear multiple hats sometimes. This is where it becomes a part. But yes, reading it, understanding it, and highlighting any risk to it is definitely a part of responsibility.
Correct. Okay. Now, before we move to the next slide, wait for a minute, Rohan. How many of you are in the development at point of time? You can say yes or no in the chat window quickly. And how many of you think are thinking to move from development to the BA or BPC role? Because next slide is going to be the more emphasized, and it's not just a slide, it is a personal story from Rohan. Because I remember when I met Rohan, we didn't meet physically at point of in person at any point of time. I met Rohan approximately 3 to 4 years back, just on a call. He said, Atul, I want to become a BA now. I guided him, and now the next slide is going to be a transitioning from developer to the BA. Over to you, Rohan, now.
Oh,
And we
thank
just
you
have
so much.
two more slides to be finished it off. Sorry, just needing a little more time, but I think the session is going very interesting at point of time. Yes, Rohan, please.
Thank you so much. And this is a personal story, so I'm very passionate about it. So, is it visible now from developer to
Yes,
BPC?
yes.
It is. It is. It is.
Can you go
Yeah.
in the slideshow mode, please?
Yeah. Okay. So let me start with this, right? So for me, I started as a developer 2019, and I was a core developer working with TCS at that point in time. Now, with development, I also did some analysis, but this would be more around finding improvement initiative, looking at the incidents that came into our team and seeing if we can do something about it. So developer plus analyst. So this was 2019 to 2021, 2 years. I was doing some core development things. Now, let me emphasize that these are the modules that I was into at that point in time: ITSM, mobile app, virtual agent, CMDB. And the question that I kept on asking myself was, okay, I don't know much about anything, but I like technical problem solving, right? So you just I was just passed out of my college, and I hardly had any idea about anything. So if you ask me to do become a painter, maybe I would become a painter. There were no boundaries at that point in time, so I hardly knew much about anything. But I like technical problem solving, and I like talking to people. So these were the two things that I liked from day one, right? So even in college, after college, I liked talking about problems, technical problem solving, and people. Now comes 2021. That's where I had my first conversation with Atul. So the question is, okay, now I am trying to switch. So there is a dev track, there is a BA track. Which one should I choose? So for me personally, it was that, okay, I become a developer, then I become a solution architect. Okay, let's not go that way. So that was my personal choice, that okay, I don't want to go that in that direction. I want to be more in front of people, more in front of customer, more in the rooms where let's say decisions are made for bigger
Spotlight
impact,
guy.
let's say. Spotlight. So, I like
Right.
validation. No, I will not
Okay.
shy away from it. I'll tell you, whenever people tell you your problem and you are able to solve it sustainably, lot of
True.
validation, lot of claps. So, that's where I wanted to go. So, development track I left, but there is an interesting component to it. Sometimes we think, okay, I want to become a BA. I don't want to be a developer now. So it's not a cutoff,
True.
right? You just don't stop being a developer. It's not like, okay, I will not do development starting tomorrow. So that's what you will see next. So 2021 to 2022, like a whole year, my majority of work was of a BA, because I interviewed at a lot of place saying that I want to be a BA, and they say that, okay, you are a developer. So I got rejection at a lot of place. So, but I got selected somewhere. I worked as a BA, but also did the development side, and lot of jobs are going away. So I said, okay, I want to preserve my sanity in this current condition. So I kept as a BA developer, more BA, less development, on vulnerability response side of things. Then came 2022 to 2024. Now I have become a BPC. Again, a conversation with Atul. Okay, this is the role. Let's go there. And I joined my current organization. And then I went into ITAM, CMDB, discovery, risk management. So a confident BPC with a hint of street smart developer. So I will know terms because I have been a developer. So I will know terms what to talk about. So that was 2022 to 2024. I have been a purely BPC, not developing anything, but configuring demos. I'm still configuring demos. If it comes to IT bar demo, it comes to certificate lifecycle management demo. If it comes to risk management demo, I still do it. So, but no development as such. Now, so now my skill set improved from just IRM vulnerability response CMDB to this is where I am a bit opportunistic, right? So I am saying, okay, order management for telco is a new thing that is coming up. Why not go and see what it is? So I added one more skill that way. So now I am doing a BPC plus pre-sales role. Why? This aligns with my ambition. So let's try this. Why not? So developer BA, BPC, little bit of pre-sales now. That's where Alok's point becomes important, which is that if you are a senior BPC, some part of SOW writing, some part of
Pre-sales as
scoping,
well.
pre-sales. Why not? It will come your bucket because you're owning at a higher level now. Now this is my future, so I'm very aspirational, very kind of a dreamer right now. So okay, why not? Next step maybe pre-sales and solutioning. Next step can be solutions advisory, but it's not limited to that. So let me quickly talk about why. So as they say, spotlight, right? Validation and these things, but it is always tied to a inner, which is inner value. Let's say there is a urge to create bigger impact. So I want to be part of bigger conversations. So it helps me connect with more people, and then rise up the chain of value creation. So if you I'm not sure how many of you have been in conversations at VPC IO level. They don't really talk about uh, modules of service now. They will not be interested at all, but they are interested in how their organization can transform, how their outages can reduce, how
True.
their systems can become more resilient, how can they reduce their license cost. So that is where their conversations are, and not ServiceNow modules. So rising up the value chain will also have this element of how you can free yourself from boundaries of ServiceNow only, and think from organization perspective. And this can go beyond. I can make another decision, maybe 2030 sometime, to either go a CIO track where I focus on one organization, build it, and second can be value selling. So I can continue in this way, become a value, and at the end it's all about either building or selling. So either you be in a product side of things, or you are on a sales side of thing at the end.
Yeah.
So that's where my aspirations are. I hope you guys also agree on
So
this.
one question I have here, Rohan.
Hmm.
It means by seeing your journey, it is not like you just cut it and you start it again. You start thinking that from how to why.
Yep.
So can I say that it is not the role change, it is a mindset change.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it cannot be emphasized more. It is about, am I willing to own and solve this problem? See, everybody has problems, right? Organization level, they don't have really good process owners, they don't have really good platform owners. So now you ask that question, there is a problem in front, I want to solve it. One is you want to solve it, second is does it align with my own growth. So if it aligns, step up. It's more about mindset, less about skill, I will
Skill,
think.
right? And now I can use you as I see that you converted from how to why, because I can see why I want to be go this thing, why customer need a outage to be downgraded, why the customer need to be license to be optimized. Correct.
Yeah, so of course, the
Simple as that.
BPC is a very talk through a BPC mindset. It is all about why, was, and what and whys, right? If we
Correct.
talk about it from a developer or a solution architect mindset, it is all about how to solve the how. I mean, the technical part goes into that. But again, I think as you said, mindset is more important because at this level, when talking to customer, you're talking as a whole. You're taking it holistically. All the problems you're talking about, and now you're seeing how are those interrelated. How can those be solved using different solutions? Now
Correct.
you're not focused on only one story, right? This is where. So as I said, both paths are equally appealing. It depends on personal interest, who wants to choose what, right? So it is not like this path is better, this path is not better, but it is all about what you feel from inside, right? As
Correct.
Rohan said, his inner passion is all about solving a problem and thinking it, creating a bigger impact, rising the value chain. This is because actually we take those decisions in that boardroom, right? We talk to them and understand the
Correct.
problems. Then we write stories and do everything else. But again, it's up to you. Some people are, they're very comfortable technically. They want to do technical stuff. Some people want to understand the business and solve the business problems. So I think all three of us here are sitting because we have the same
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 mind. Yes.
mindset in terms of solving
Yeah.
business problems, right?
So just to be conclude this slide, I can say that if you are planning or thinking to transition from BA to BPC, number one, you have to be change your mindset. Number one, you have to be more on the what and why. Number three, you should be focused on the value. And number four, you should be moved from code to listen format now. Read, observe, listen, and write is the important key here if you want to be go. And plus, to move from dev to BPC, because you already have a service experience. Start adding the things which, as Rohan said, that I start adding my personal certifications, my personal learning. One, but it's not like he started everything in one go. He started one step, done. Second step, done. Third step, done. So you can start from ITSM, you can start from GRC, SecOps, HRSG, anything you pick up, and then you can start moving. Also, start if you want to moving, if you're planning to move from dev to BPC, start interacting and participating in the BPCs and the workshops specifically, where you will learn all these things that what a BPC is asking, and don't just go for the technical terms always, because customer hate the people in the workshops who talk about the technical jargons. They're more interested in the business terms. So that's what the key here. Thank you so much, Rohan. I think everybody is okay with this part, and we can go to the next slide now.
Hmm. Okay, I'll just try to add one
Sure,
more thing.
sure, sure.
Please talk to more people. Don't just sit at your place, do your work. Talk to as many people as you can, because a lot of time, in my personal experience, it happened that I have a lot of worries about where to go, what to do, what's the next step. Since see, I am a very junior guy still. I have 6 years of experience, still trying to explore a lot. So a lot of questions come into picture, and Now you have to find good mentors. So talk to at least 10 people, find 2 to 3 mentors. Like Atul is one of my mentors. I think every time I have tried to switch or think in a new direction, I have always talked to Atul. I have for last 3 years at least.
Yes,
Right.
yeah,
So and that has given me a new perspective to look at things. I believe, like at my company, even I talk to people who are not in my company, who are in they're professors here and there. So please talk to more people. That will help. I think that's all. I will move to the next slide. Yeah.
perfectly fine. Yes, Rohan. Okay, last two slides. And this is question for two. Is BA BPC and product owner is same? Alok.
No, I think we talked about it some time back, right? Product owner is more of the one who owns the product, right? He prioritizes the features. He has a complete vision of the product, and it is more about what he's building. That person is building, right? So he'll give you all the ideas. This is my vision. This is how I want to do it. This is the road mapping, right? BABBC can do the fitment analysis, and they can see what can be done earlier, what can be done later, how can this fit, what all do we need to do. So PO, I would say, is a more senior role, to be very honest, right? And they focus more on product, not on only now BPC. Now again, these three are different roles, right? BPC and BA we have talked about already. So BPC is more of a consultant for a business process implementation anywhere. PO
Correct.
is more about building that particular product. BPC is not related to a product. That is also important, right? BPC can work on multiple products.
True.
So
True. So
interesting.
so myth is that yes, they are same, but the fact is that both are different. BPC is like a level. BPC can be work across. Product owner is mainly for the specific product only, or the feature only. Rohan, BA BPC versus platform owner are they same? What is the myth?
I think they're very different people. Uh, one perspective is that they can one can be on the service side or the maybe the partner side, and the platform owners generally would be on the client side. That is the first
Correct.
way to look at it. Second way to look at it would be that incentives for both are different. Incentive for BA BPC is getting documentation proper, consulting the customer, and getting things done. Platform owner would have a different incentive, which is how he can best align the platform and the investment that is going into the platform to best to suit its organization goals. So that is another way to look at it. So platform owner, BA BPC, completely different. Of course, it can be a transition. So you can transition from a BPC to a platform owner, of course.
Correct.
But both wear different shoes, have
For that, you
different
have to change
incentives.
companies. If you have to move from service-based to product-based also to
To the
customer
customer
also, right?
side. Yeah, you have
Right.
to jump
Exactly,
to the
exactly.
customer side.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And also we saw when we see the career path as well. So we say after senior BPC, you can go for the product owner, platform owner, pre-sales as well. So this is what these are two different roles, two different personas, two different people as well. What are the challenges faced by BA and how overcome that challenges? Bhavna, to be clear, in which context you are asking this? Are you talking about the workshop, requirement gathering, sign off? In which context you are asking? Because this is important for us as a B2B understand. If you can clarify that part, we can pick up this question. In the meantime, let's go to the next slide.
Okay.
Okay. So BA certification, there are mainly, I can say, if you want to be understand the BA. I'm not talking about the ServiceNow BA, the BA as a whole, as a persona, as a role specific, which can be applicable for any of the industry, then you can go for the CBAP, that is called Certified Business Process and Business Analyst Professional. You can go to the some dedicated centers are there, but this is a little costly course, I can say. It's like a somewhere $2,000 the cost is there, including the training. So you can go for that one if you're looking for the service now perspective. Like I say that Jogendra was saying that he want to start the career. So this is a training which you can start, and this is a journey which is given by service now, called business process analyst, in this associate level, practitioner level, and the professional business analyst level as well. You can do these courses, and then you can go and move forward in your BA journey as well. And yes, Rohan, I 100% agree. Vikrant Bhagwat, thank you so much for joining and mentoring me in my journey. It is always a fact that we should always put our gratitude and the thanks to the mentor, to the teachers, to the gurus who help us to be grow, and because of their guidance we are here at point of time and we're speaking with a lot of people here. Next slide, please. Okay, 1 minute. So Bhavna says in a day-to-day life of a BA. Alok or Rohan, can you take a little bit quickly on this particular part?
Yes, I will make try to make a joke here, right?
Sure.
So the question says that can again I can read the question. Okay, the question is, what are the challenges faced by BA and how to overcome the challenge? The biggest challenge that the BA faces is himself or herself, not asking the right questions,
True.
not documenting, delaying, and maybe not doing some homework before going to the customer call, wasting time there. So the biggest challenge a BA BPC has is their own time management, their own habits from a day-to-day basis. If you master 5 6 soft skills, 3 4 processes within ServiceNow, there will not be a more exceptional BA than you.
You're right. But how you are using it, that's important. That's what the main challenge. Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Now the question to both of you again, and definitely to the audience as well. AI in business analysis, is it filling the gaps or replacing BS? Alok, what do you think?
This is a very industry standard discussion right now happening everywhere in the world.
True.
Is AI replacing jobs? I'm not saying it is not doing that, to be very honest, but again, it is up to you, right? You have skills, use it to leverage it to increase the efficiency. This is what I have seen, right? So it is not completely replacing you. Of course, it can't replace. See, it cannot communicate to customers the way you can, right? So
Correct.
definitely, it is going to replace you. You cannot consult as a BPC that this is your as is, this is my to be, this is where you can do it, this is the solution, right? It cannot do all of that. It can give you some insight, but not the entirety of it, right? It cannot replace human beings in terms of talking to customers in a boardroom. But at the same time, you should be leveraging these tools to improve your productivity by, as I said, requiring getting templates, build it,
True.
right? Drafting minutes of meeting, for example, and just see the pain points. Just ask, even workshop agendas. I have seen, I've
I
experienced
have.
it myself. You can write workshop agendas based on the use cases, right? It is it does it beautifully. As long as, so your prompt has to be very clear. So you have to learn that
Correct.
prompting. Secondly, you have to tweak it multiple times. So maybe the output is not in that format. You can have to tell them do this, do this, do this. It will, after some time of iterative feedbacks, it will give you some output for sure. And thirdly, validate it, right? So whatever the outcome is, please do validate that, because not everything from ChatGPT is exactly true. So
So
I think,
so it means I can say AI in the BA is filling the gap. It's not 100% replacing it, but it is enhancing the BA productivity as well. The
you have to
outcome
become
and
smarter
out.
than you have to become smarter than ChatGPT to ensure that you are not
True.
replaced, right? So you
Yes.
need to have the skill set which ChatGPT does not have.
Yes. And I'm sure that in the next slide, Rohan has some example that how he is leveraging the chat GPT for his work. Rohan, over to you. And guys, this
Okay.
is the last slide now. So we can just take a few minutes and then we close the session. Please, Rohan.
Okay. So I'll reiterate that it is the best probably thing that would happen to a BA will help you solve a lot of day-to-day problems, right? How I leverage it. Let me first talk about the slide. So let's talk about this particular use case, right? So use case is that okay, I'm a BA for business continuity management. So this is a new project that has been given to me, and I need to gather requirement next week. How can I prepare, given that I have never been part of any implementation of BCM? So how do you go about it? Even for TPRM, let's say TPRM is one example.
True.
Now coming up very rapidly in conversations across the board for ServiceNow. Now, how I have not done anything. How do I go about it? The best thing that you can do is ask these simple 5 questions to ChatGPT. I'll just give you one example. I'll just quickly share my other screen
True.
and help you understand that what do I mean when I say okay.
Yes.
So
Please,
let's
please,
say
please don't reach
yeah,
out to Rohan that, hey, you have a chat GPT. Can you help me to write the stories? It is just
yeah,
for the example purpose he's showing now. Go ahead, Rohan,
yeah.
please.
Okay, so let me share my screen now.
Yes.
Why not? I stopped sharing, right? I
Okay.
would believe so.
Yes, you stop sharing now.
Yeah, it's always okay. So let me know once my screen is visible. Is it visible now?
Add to screen.
Mm,
Yes,
yes.
we can see now.
Okay. So if you look at it, it is the professional version of ChatGPT that I use, and I use it for whatever. So I will even ask for haircut suggestions. So
Come
just
on.
I mean, whatever, right? So I have a
You're
question. What is
a big fan.
socialism versus communism? I will ask. Right. So I ask anything. But coming back to the BCM, right? So let's say, okay, wow, fantastic. So here is the example, right? You see on my screen. This I did 2 to 3 days back. So there was a briefing shared with me that okay, there is some customer requirement coming in, and they want to deploy BCM, right? So I just sent it the picture and said read it and map to a suitable module in ServiceNow. Let me know if any element cannot be achieved in ServiceNow. Very important question again, because
True.
when you read customers RFPs or customers requirement sheet, there would be things that cannot be done. So explicitly ask, let me know if anything cannot be achieved within ServiceNow. Okay. And then what it will do the requirement, it will look at the requirement, it will do the mapping, it will also tell you, okay, there is something which is partially mapped. So now I have a very clear understanding of how that requirement maps to ServiceNow functionalities. And then I can then suggest my pre-sales people that, guys, even though I'm not an expert right now in BCM, here is what you can do. That is one that you can look at. Second is that, okay, let's say order management. Start asking questions. I'll just quickly show you for order management for telco. Scoping question. Now, see, if you look at okay, I'll not showcase the entire thing. Probably it's for a customer. But anyway, so if you want to obtain a questionnaire, day one questionnaire, then how do you ask the questions? So it can always give you what is the customer profile, what they do, what are the probably what they are doing, user personas, and these things. So you got a list of 35 questions that you can send out on day one or day zero
Day
rather.
zero, yes. Day zero,
Yep.
correct.
Day zero is the most important part that we should always consider. And I use Chat GPT 20 times a day. I showed you, right? I use it to understand what would be the next best haircut that I can get. So
You're using the
understand
complete
from that
professional
perspective.
version for
Chat
your
GPT
personal
is
life.
my friend, if from a BPC perspective. Yeah,
Nice.
that's all.
No,
So
even
can
I do use it. It's really helpful.
yes, can you come back on the slides, please, Rohan?
So again, stop sharing. Okay. Is it visible? Just let me know quickly.
I'm just adding on the scene now. Yes. Okay. So finally, yep, that's done. So finally, we're on the last slide now. Any question answer you have in your mind? When is a BA not a BA? When they are an SME. So we need to be moved from BA BPC to the SME. Can be pre-sales, product owner, platform owner, CIO, CXO level, as Rohan says, Alok also says. So this is what we have discussed here. Anybody has any last question to be discussed here, to be asked here? I know that we are already a good overtime this time. This is the one of the lengthiest podcast I have done, but I want to be go it for a very bigger level because I know that this is important concept for many of the people who are in doubt in their mind as well. Abhin, thank you so much. So before I go and formally close it, let's take a 10-20 second pause. Pray to God. Thanks to God that we spend a good time to share our knowledge experience with the community and they get it in the same manner and then we formally close the session as well. Okay, so now it's time to be say thank you everybody. Abhin, thank you so much. I saw you from the starting in this call. You'll be there. Thank you so much. Thank you, Bhavna. Thank you, Jogendra, Sheikh, Atul. Thank you so much for joining this session. Also, I see Dr. Swati is there, Kshitij is there, Sustina is there, and Anjan is there. Ishan, sorry, not Ishan, I can say it's Anish is there from my previous batches. So a lot of people I see that are there in this session. And thank you so much once again. Special thanks to you, Alok and Rohan. So giving me opportunity to be connect with you again on this podcast. I know that this podcast is the one of the best podcasts I have done till now. And I'm sure that people will watch it again in when they get time as well. So once again, thank you so much, everybody. See you again. Possibly not in the next week, but some other week. I'm planning to bring another session on the different roles of the service now, and we'll come back on this particular part. Thank you so much, and bye bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you
It's
so
been a
much.
pleasure.
Thanks.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you.